Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. So far, I've been your host, Zero Yeti, and this is our European special. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it with the first animal of the week being the wisent, also known as the European bison, the European wood bison, the wisent, the zebra, or the European buffalo. It is a Eurasian species of bison and one of the two extant species of bison alongside the American bison. During late antiquity and the Middle Ages, Wisent became extinct in much of Europe and Asia, surviving into the 20th century only in northern Central Europe and the northern Caucasus Mountains. During the early years of the 20th century, these Wisent were hunted to extinction in the wild, and only 48 individuals survived in zoos and museums. Thankfully, extensive captive breeding programs were started in the 1920s, and today Wisents number in the thousands and have been reintroduced throughout Poland, Austria, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Ukraine, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Denmark, France, Germany, Hungary, Russia, Italy, Kyrgyzstan, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Romania, Serbia, Spain, the Netherlands, Sweden, Switzerland, Scotland, and England. They can be found throughout open woodlands and montane steppes where they live in mixed sex herds of around a dozen individuals. They feed upon grasses, sedges, leaves, shoots, roots, and pine needles. Wisent are occasionally preyed upon by brown bears and gray wolves. And reaching around 7 to 11 feet in length, 5 to 7 feet tall at the shoulder, and 1,000 to 2,000 pounds in weight, Wisent are the largest surviving European land animal. On average, Wisent are taller, less heavy, and darker in coloration than American bison, and sport more strongly curved horns. The rutting season occurs from August through to October, and after a 264-day pregnancy, mothers will give birth to a single calf, which will remain by their mother's side for 7 to 13 months. Under ideal conditions, a Wisent will reach sexual maturity around 2 to 4 years of age, and may live up to 30 years. Next up, we have the golden eagle, which is a bird of prey living in the northern hemisphere and is the most widely distributed species of eagle, being found throughout most of Eurasia, North America, and North Africa. They are diurnal animals that tend to inhabit grasslands, tundra, open woodland, marshes, steppes, coastal areas, and mountainous regions where they feed upon reptiles, fish, game birds, and small mammals, but occasionally capture larger prey including geese, seals, ungulates, canines, primates, cranes, badgers, owls, falcons, and other eagles. Golden eagles are themselves preyed upon, albeit rarely, by crocodilians, big cats, wolverines, honey badgers, wolves, bears, great horned owls, and other eagles. There is some considerable size variation between local populations of golden eagles, with those found in the islands of Japan being the smallest and those native to the Himalayas being the largest. However, in general, these birds measure in around 2 to 4 feet in length, 7 to 15 pounds in weight, and sport a 5.5 to 8.5 foot wingspan, with females being around 25% to 35% larger than males. Adults of both sexes have similar plumage, and that is primarily dark brown with some gray on the inner wing and tail, and a paler, typically golden color on the back of the crown and nape, which gives this species its common name. The bill is also dark at the tip, fading into a lighter horn color, with a yellow cere, and the feet are also yellow. Immature golden eagles typically sport darker body coloration and white markings on the tail and wings. Golden eagles typically mate for life, and a breeding pair is formed in a courtship display. This courtship includes undulating displays by both in the pair, with the birds picking up rocks, sticks, or clumps of earth, and then dropping it only to enter into a steep dive and then catch it again in midair, repeating the maneuver 3 or more times. Excuse me. Mating occurs in the spring, during which time the pair will build a large nest on cliffs or other high places, to which they may return for several breeding years. Females lay up to 4 eggs, which are then incubated for around 6 weeks. Typically, 1 or 2 young survive to fledge in about 3 months, and will remain with their parents well into fall. Under ideal conditions, a golden eagle will reach sexual maturity around 4 to 5 years of age and may live upwards of 30 years. Next up is the Barbary macaque, also known as the Barbary ape. It is a macaque species that was once widespread throughout Europe and North Africa, but is today restricted to the Atlas Mountains of Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, and Morocco, along with a small introduced population in Gibraltar on the Iberian Peninsula. Here they dwell in a variety of ecosystems, including both evergreen and deciduous forests, grasslands, scrublands, and alpine areas of up to 7,500 feet in elevation. Barbary macaques are highly social and a gregarious species, which live in mixed-sex troops of 10 to 100 individuals, led by a matriarch and her coalition of allied monkeys. They feed upon flowers, fruits, seeds, leaves, buds, bark, gum, stems, roots, worms, snails, slugs, arachnids, insects, and amphibians. Barbary macaques are themselves preyed upon by leopards, feral dogs, and striped hyenas, as well as eagles, particularly the golden eagle. Female Barbary macaques are slightly smaller than males, reaching around 22 inches in length and 23 pounds in weight, with males reaching around 25 inches in length and 33 pounds in weight. Both sexes have a dark pink face and a pale buff of gold and brown to gray on their coat that is lighter on the underside. Their fur changes with the seasons, growing thick in the winter only to be shed to a thinner coat come late spring and early summer. They sport a small vestigial boneless tail, and like all Old World monkeys, the Barbary macaque has well-developed sitting pads called ischial callosities on its rear. They are a highly polygamous species, and during the mating season, which lasts from November to March, it is not uncommon for a Barbary macaque to mate with any receptive member of their troop. After a 147 to 192 day pregnancy, mother macaques will typically give birth to 1 to 2 offspring. Said offspring are raised communally by both the males and females of the troop. Under ideal conditions, a Barbary macaque will reach sexual maturity around 3 to 4 years of age and may live upwards of 20 years. Excuse me. Next up is Hermann's tortoise. Named after French naturalist John Hermann, it is a species of tortoise native throughout the European nations of Albania, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, France, Greece, Italy, Montenegro, Romania, Serbia, Spain, and Turkey, as well as several islands in the Mediterranean such as the Balearics, Sardinia, Sicily, and Corsica. They prefer evergreen Mediterranean oak forests and dry meadows, but can also be found in alpine areas, scrublands, and farmlands. They are a diurnal species which feeds upon flowers, clovers, grasses, roots, fruit, leaves, tubers, earthworms, slugs, snails, insects, and carrion. Hermann's tortoise are themselves preyed upon by badgers, magpies, foxes, eagles, and wild boar. Reach around 7 to 11 inches in length and 4 to 9 pounds in weight. They are a small to mid-sized tortoise, famous for their attractive black and yellow patterned carapaces. They have a slightly hooked upward jaw and a strong toothless beak, scaly limbs that are grayish to brown in color with some yellow markings, and tails which bear a spur at the tip. In late February, Hermann's tortoises emerge from under bushes or rotting wood, where they spend the winter months hibernating, buried in a bed of dead leaves and other foliage. Immediately after surfacing, the tortoises begin their mating season. Nesting starts in May and ends in July, and the female will build a nest by digging in the ground and will lay a clutch of between 2 and 12 eggs in the soil, often laying 2 or more clutches in a season. The eggs hatch after a 90-day incubation period and will remain within close proximity of their birthplace for several years. Under ideal conditions, a Hermann's tortoise will reach sexual maturity around 4 to 6 years of age and may live upwards of 70. Sorry. Next up is the European badger, also known as the Eurasian badger. It is a badger species in the family Mustelidae, which is native throughout almost all of Europe and parts of the Middle East, where they tend to inhabit grasslands, both evergreen and deciduous forests, pastureland, scrubland, alpine areas of up to 6,600 feet in elevation. It is a nocturnal, social, and burrowing animal that sleeps during the day in one of its several sets in its territorial range. These burrows have multiple chambers and entrances, and are extensive systems of underground passages around 115 to 266 feet in length. They house anywhere from 6 to 23 badgers that use these sets for decades, and on occasion European badgers are known to share their burrows with foxes, raccoon dogs, rabbits, and tortoises. They are highly adaptable and opportunistic omnivores which feed upon earthworms, insects, mollusks, rodents, and other small mammals, eggs, amphibians, ground birds, fish, small reptiles, honey, tubers, cereals, fruit, fungi, nuts, and carrion. European badgers are themselves preyed upon by wolves, bears, lynx, eagles, and large owls. Reaching 9 to 12 inches tall at the shoulder, 2 to 3 feet in length, and 15 to 40 pounds in weight, the European badger is a powerfully built animal with black, white, brown, and gray coloration. It has a small head, a stocky body, and small black eyes, and a short tail. Sorry, I have something in my eye. Their feet are plantigrade and short, with 5 toes on each foot that are each ended in a strong, elongated claw, which is excellent at digging. European badgers are monogamous and typically mate for life. Breeding may occur at any time of the year, although the main peak occurs in February to May. After a 9 to 12 month pregnancy, a mother will give birth to 1 to 6 pups. At the age of around 2.5 months, the cubs are weaned and leave the den when they are about 8 to 10 months old. In ideal conditions, a European badger will reach sexual maturity around 1 year of age and may live upwards of 15. Next up is the Wels catfish, also known as the sheetfish or just the Wels. It is a large species of catfish native to wide areas of central, southern, and eastern Europe and in the basins of the Baltic, Black, and Caspian seas. It has been introduced to Western Europe as a prize sport fish and is now found from the United Kingdom, east to Kazakhstan and China, south to Greece and Turkey. Wels catfish has been introduced to the United States as well. The Wels catfish lives in large, warm lakes and deep, slow-moving rivers. It prefers to remain in shelter locations such as holes in the riverbed, sunken trees, or underneath rocks, occasionally swimming into more open water to feed upon worms, gastropods, insects, crustaceans, fish, amphibians, water snakes, coipu, and aquatic birds such as ducks. In France, Wels catfish have even been documented to lunge out of the water to feed upon land-based prey such as pigeons, rats, and voles. They are capable of reaching upwards of 10 feet in length and 450 pounds in weight, making them the second largest freshwater fish in Europe behind the beluga sturgeon and amongst the largest freshwater fish on Earth. However, due to overfishing, shrinking habitat, and pollution, such giants are now very rare, and most Wels catfish today average around 4 to 5 feet in length and 30 to 50 pounds in weight. The Wels catfish mouth contains lines of numerous small teeth, 2 long barbels on the upper jaw, and 4 shorter barbels on the lower jaw. It has a long anal fin that extends to the caudal fin, and a small sharp dorsal fin relatively far forward on the body. The skin is very slimy, and the coloration varies with the environment. Clear water will give a fish a black color, while muddy water will often tend to produce green to brown in specimens. The underside is always a pale yellow to white in color. Albinistic specimens are known to exist and are caught occasionally. Wels catfish swim in a similar fashion to eels and can also swim backwards. The mating season occurs from May to June, during which time a male digs a trough. In this trough, the female will lay 200,000 eggs, which the male then fertilizes. The male will then guard the nest until the brood hatches, which, depending on water temperature, can take anywhere from 3 to 10 days. If the water level decreases too much or too fast, the male has been observed to splash the eggs with his tail in order to keep them wet. Under ideal conditions, a Wels catfish will live upwards of 80 years. Sorry. Can you tell I'm getting over a cold? Eotyrannus is a genus of tyrannosaurid theropod dinosaur that lived throughout what is now the United Kingdom during the Barremian stage to the early Aptian of the early Cretaceous period, some 125 to 115 million years ago. The first remains of Eotyrannus, consisting of a skull and partial skeleton of a subadult, were found in the southwestern coast of the Isle of Wight by fossil collector Gabriel N in 1995, who then brought a claw of a specimen to Steve Hutt, who worked at the Old Museum of the Isle of Wight Geology in Sandow. Gavin Legge revealed the location of where the claw was discovered, and over the next few weeks the site was carefully excavated. The fossils were removed in the hard matrix, and over the next few years, the specimen was carefully researched with scientists from the University of Portsmouth with the help of the Natural History Museum. Eventually, in 2001, the specimen was given the name Eotyrannus, meaning dawn tyrant, along with the specific epithet Linguini in honor of Mr. Leg. Reaching around 13 to 16 feet in length and around 4 to 6 feet tall at the hips, and weighing around 300 to 500 pounds in weight, Eotyrannus was a relatively small, agile creature compared to later tyrannosaurids, and possessed a number of characteristics present in the holotypic specimen that are unique to the genus. These include a concave notch on the rostral end of the jaws, gracile hind limbs built for agility, and long teardrop-shaped lower forelimbs and three-fingered grasping hands. The Wessex Formation, where Eotyrannus was found, is considered to have been warm and humid, similar to the present-day Mediterranean. Here, Eotyrannus would have fulfilled the niche of small, agile terrestrial predator, hunting mammals, pterosaurs, amphibians, reptiles, and small dinosaurs such as Orthonomimosaurus, Hypsilophodon, and Aristosuchus, while navigating around larger dinosaurs such as Iguanodon, Polacanthus, Ornithopipsis, Neovenator, Riparovenator, and Ceratoseucops. As always, take care to my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Hope you enjoyed this episode and have a wonderful day.